Hey everybody, Aaron Bishop here with Derish Chai on behalf of the Patterns of Life Bible. In the Torah, we read of the story of the spies when Israel sends 12 men to go spy out the land of Canaan. And they go in and they see all these amazing sights and they return and they give their report. And the people respond with despair and they end up not going into the land despite God's command for them to go into the land, and which then leads to 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. Well, the story is told twice in the Torah, and in the retelling of the story, it highlights exactly where the people failed in their response to God's command. Let's take a look at it and we'll see what we can discover. So this particular pericope is very early in the book of Deuteronomy. It's pericope number 3. It's actually Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 19 through 30. It's not even the whole chapter. It's not the first of the chapter. And it's not even the end of the chapter. It's just a small section within the chapter. But the story is a retelling of the previous story of the spies. So in A and A prime, we read of the way, the travels through the wilderness. In A, it's the travel from Sinai to Kadesh Barnea, where Israel camped at that time, where they sent out the spies. And in A prime, it reminds them that this way, it wasn't something that they picked out. It wasn't something that they chose. This was God leading them in the way that they were supposed to go. Right there in their sight, they could see a pillar of cloud and a pillar of fire, the fire to keep them warm at night, the cloud to provide shade during the day, this God working to provide for them, to sustain them, and to lead them in the ways that they should go, protecting them from all of their enemies. And in B, standing there in Kadesh Barnea, Moses said, "You're about to go into the land to take these mountains. Behold, God has given it to us, so don't be afraid and don't be discouraged. He's promised us this. We can go do it." And in B prime, after the spies bring their report, Moses reiterates the same thing. God goes before you. He will fight for you according to all that he did in Egypt. He's already done it for you. Don't be afraid. I know you're afraid of what's in there. I know you're afraid of the enemy, but don't be. You have no reason to be. God fights for you. In C and C prime, then, we see what it is that the people are afraid of. They're afraid of the land, not just the land, they're afraid of the cities. Now, we have to understand, in the ancient Near East, a city had a wall. It was a fortress. If it didn't have a wall, it was a village. If it had a wall, it was a city. And so in C, the people say, well, we're about to go in. Let's send some spies to go check out their cities, to see what's in the way, to see what kind of bounty the land has. And in D, we're going to see that Moses agrees to this. And in C prime, we see the evil part of the report. They'd already said, yeah, the land is good, but now they're saying, God hated us. He's bringing us out here in order to make us captives to the Amorites and to the people of Canaan. The people of the land, they're bigger, they're taller, they're more fearsome than us. The cities, their fortresses, they're walled up to the skies. And so there's no possible way that we, this nation of slaves, is going to possibly be able to take this land. It just can't be done. And in D, we get the highlight of the story. Sending the spies, it seemed like a good idea. And when the spies came back, their initial report was a good report. The fruit is amazing. The things that are there, it's amazing. The land is bountiful and plentiful and fruitful. It is truly a good land. The center highlights what Israel stood to gain if they followed through. And yet in C and C prime, we see that their fear of the people of the land is what led them to not go in. We see Moses say clearly, don't fear, don't be afraid of your enemies, because God is with you in the way that you're going. You can see him right over there. The story is so profound because we hear throughout scripture this repeating refrain, do not fear, do not be afraid, do not fear, do not be afraid. And Moses brings it up twice here, right in the face of the enemy as the people are about to go and take the land. And the people didn't listen. And this should cause us to think on our own lives, the things that we know we've been commanded to do, the things that we know we're supposed to do. How often do we avoid those things? Do we not do those things? Because we're afraid. Do not fear. The Lord goes with you in the way that he will show you.